when you have that conversation and you try to make it as positive as you can and you say, hey, but I still want to walk with you, I think immediately they get defeated. They want to give up.
Welcome to the D3 Discipleship Podcast, a podcast about the language and tools that help to create a culture of intentional discipleship in your church. We are excited that you're joining us today and hope that you enjoy what you hear.
Well, hey, everybody. Welcome back to the D3 Discipleship Podcast. My name is Ray, and alongside me is my co-host, Katie Katzner.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back. We're glad you're here.
Yes, we are back after an evening of having 100-plus discipling leaders in the same room. How cool is that?
For real this time.
Yes, for real this time. It was actually last night. If you've listened to our episode before this, we maybe pre-recorded that one. But that's okay. That's the magic of podcasting and technology and all those fun things. So, yeah.
Yeah, and about that, I actually have a bone to pick with you.
Yeah.
Ray.
Yeah.
So during our gathering last night, we did a quiz of, all things D3.
Yes. What would be a D3 gathering without a quiz, right? Like we gotta check up on everybody.
I actually love them now. I mean, probably because I'm really good at them.
There you go. That's right. Yes.
I would hope.
Hey, your table threw their hands up on like the 14 plus, right? Or 13 plus. Like you guys did a good job.
Listen, I don't know about my table. I was doing it by myself because initially Jonathan said we were doing it per campus, and I was the only Shawnee person at my table.
Oh.
I wasn't sure how we were going to do that per campus if we're all scattered, but I was like, okay, come on, Shawnee, I'm right here. I got you.
You were fending for yourself. You're like, we got it. I'm taking them down.
Oh, heck yeah.
Yeah.
There's no way I was sharing my answers with Edgerton.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's awesome.
But anyways, I only missed one.
Yes.
And I went back this morning. It was the one that says, how many tools do we have?
Yes.
And I got that one wrong. And, I don't like being wrong. And I like to argue and prove my point.
Yeah.
Ask my husband.
Sure.
But I went back at our playbook and I counted them up. And there are not 14 tools, Ray.
Yes. So Katie and I were just talking about this, and if you missed that question at the thing last night, I apologize. I will admit that I was wrong. And so what I did is I went to the table of contents and I counted the tools that are in the table of contents, but the Star Wars plan is one of the things in the table of contents. And so I miscounted, and it's actually 13 tools. So if you answered 13, as I believe Katie did, you got it right for our total tools.
I didn't. I actually said 11 total because I was going back.
Okay.
We've had this argument so many times.
Yes.
And I remember counting it up like 5 different times, like maybe a year ago.
Right.
This was before we added more.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I think we settled on 11.
Yes. Well, now the magic number is 13. So Tay Swift or however you want to roll that, that's the new number. Yes. And I said 14.
Oh, that'll be easier.
I said 14, and again, miscalculated on the Star Wars plan being one of those tools because it takes up a whole page in our table of contents and book. So there's that.
I appreciate.
We will start the podcast with me admitting that I was wrong. And that's
just the way I like it.
It's true. Yeah, it is what it is. So there's that. Yeah.
But anyways, other than that, it was a really good evening.
It was a great evening. Really good food. Man. By the way, for those that are listening and you enjoyed the food, Katie ordered the food. So thank you, Katie, for ordering the awesome, amazing Kava food. Yes. If you haven't been, we'll do a promo. Maybe they'll sponsor us, right? Yeah. So if you haven't had Kava, it's amazing. There's one right by Oak Park Mall in Kansas City. Or if you're listening from somewhere else, man, find you one. They're delicious. Holy cow. Yep.
It is. But you got to know what to get. Like, you got to know how to mix them up. Because the first time I went, I did not like it because I had no idea what I was doing. And, my plate, it was just too much.
Yeah.
But now that I know what I like, oh, my gosh, I'm obsessed.
Yeah. I just took every pan there was last night and put it in my bowl. Like, I tried everything. It was amazing.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, so
good.
So good. Yep.
Are there leftovers? Did you take leftovers home?
There were some leftovers. I brought a bowl home. Daniel Smith brought home 3, which was hilarious. And then a couple other people loaded theirs up. And then there was just that fine line of like, this is not enough to keep for any reason.
Yep.
And so we actually, we had to dump a little bit, but it is what it is.
Oh.
So,
But those pita chips, mwah.
Oh my gosh.
Oh.
Yep. If you've ever had fried pita, I mean, what makes bread better? Frying it. I.e. donut, fried pita, all those. They're great. They're amazing. So, yeah.
I was just telling Ray this before we got on, but I had to walk myself through a learning circle about treating my body better and eating better and working out more.
Yeah. And
I was really proud of myself last night because I did not get a bundt cake.
Oh, well, good for you. Good for you.
And
I started with a bundt cake.
Those are my most favorite things in the entire world. And I walked back there and I was like, do you need it? Is it a celebration? Is it the weekend? No, go back to your table.
Hey, it was a D3 celebration. You could have played that card.
No,
I'm sorry.
Ray,
I'm speaking the wrong thing into you. I'm sorry. We had that conversation. That's not the direction you want to go, Katie. I'm a bad influence. I'm sorry. Get behind me, Satan. All right.
But anyways, it was a really great night. There was a lot of new information.
Yes.
Which we kind of touched on last week's episode.
Right.
But there was even more added.
There was.
Last night.
Yeah.
Where do we even start, man?
Yeah, so I'd say let's start with just kind of the traffic light idea. So if you weren't there last night, we introduced some new deployment language. So when I say deployment language, what I mean is that's focused in phase 4. And this idea of deployment and deploying individuals in your group. And so what has kind of, to give the backstory, what has kind of happened is in the past, we've had individuals who, man, I think they could do a great job leading, but they just need reps in leadership or leading a group. And they need just someone to walk alongside them. And in the past, we've said, you know what, maybe you're not quite ready to be deployed. But I think there are folks that are ready to be deployed if they're walking with the right person. Or co-leading with the right person. And so I had kind of been toying with an idea in this way, and then I got a phone call from Summer Cole a couple of weeks ago, and she kind of affirmed it and really kind of even gave me some ideas, better ideas, if you will, than I had. I'll give her all the credit of, like, what could we do? Could we have, and she said, could we have phases, like we have the phases of the square, just to give you a picture of kind of where we were headed. Phases of the square, could we have phases for deployment? And then started playing with that, and then the idea of traffic light came from our North American Mission Board SYN Network assessments, where a planter, basically when they come out, they get a green, a red, or a yellow, or not, whatever, green, yellow, red, not all that to say. Anyway, using this traffic light is kind of a guide and a help to how you're being assessed or how you're being sent out as a church planter. So we kind of smashed those together and came up with this concept of our deployment traffic light, if you will. And so, yeah. And so that was the first time you had heard that, Katie. So I'm going to put you on the spot, and we'll talk about the details of it here in a second. But what were your first initial thoughts of yeah, maybe, no, yeah. I asked the whole room, thumbs up, thumbs down. I didn't see a thumbs down. Maybe there was one, but had a pretty good response from it. So what were your initial thoughts?
I'm used to the NAM, North American Mission Board. I'm used to the green, yellow, red concept. And I like it in that process also. But I was like, oh yeah, why wouldn't we do something like this? Because it can get difficult where you have a group and some of them are ready and you're like, yeah, let's go. And then you have some that are definitely not ready, but it's what do you do with them? Do you go ahead and let them go, even though you don't feel like they really, really are ready? Or do you completely say, no, stop, and then that might halt any progress within them, You don't want to be, it seems harsh to be no.
Yeah. Whereas
this, you're okay, I see, you can have I see in you conversation with them with the yellow. and be like, I see this in you, but there are some things that we still need to work towards. And it just gives people clear direction of like what they still need and like what they're missing. And yeah, I think it's really great.
Yeah. And I think it gives them, all through discipleship, we talk about transformation. We talk about change in your life, sanctification, looking more like Jesus and all of those different things. I think it sets you up for a continued runway of like, hey, we want to see even more from you as you go out, right? It's like this kind of as you go concept of like, as I send you out, here's some things to be just mindful of and think through. And I think we also used to have this kind of yes, no, right? Like that was it. And this kind of gives a healthy medium. And as you said, helps with those awkward conversations of like, man, you are ready, but you're not ready. And so I don't know what to say to you. And we don't really know where to place you. This gives us an opportunity maybe to point them in a direction that can help in that, right? And like give them a great spot to go.
Yeah. And I also think, I don't know how exactly this will play out or what it will look like, but I feel like the Greens, I feel like they should just be great. Not necessarily, but like natural.
Right.
Yellows, I feel like, I don't know if it would be like hurtful to anyone to get a yellow. Like I feel like I would have rather have a yellow just because like I was not very confident in my own abilities. And if my leaders would have said, hey, like they knew I could do it, but if they said, hey, you can do this, but we want you to be a little more confident in going, because like you have to have that confidence to go out and actually do it. Yeah. Like it took me a really long time to actually start a group because I did not feel confident in what I was doing.
Yeah.
So if my leaders would have said, hey, you are ready, but to make you a little more confident in this, you're going to like stay with us, or you're going to like just shadow, do whatever you want to call it, and like get your toes wet. Right. And I think that's what I need. Like I need to see it in process. I need to know the workings. I need to like get the reps in, as you say. And like, then it becomes more natural. Like that's like with anything you do in life,
right?
Practice makes perfect.
Yeah.
And so, like, I don't know how many people get green lights or yellow lights compared to yellow lights, but I feel like, I don't know. I feel like yellow is a healthy place for the majority of our people to be.
Yeah.
Because I feel like then they'll get like a personalized, like, okay, you're ready, but this is an area that we need to help you in. This is an area we need to help you in. Like,
exactly.
And then we're all ready to go.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, totally. So let's talk about the language for a minute. So again, traffic light, right? So in that, you mentioned the green, right? So the green is this idea, we're using kind of this tagline of go and make disciples, like green for go, right? You're ready to go. And ultimately what we're saying in that when you receive a green is that, man, we feel confident that you can step out and take any other deployed leader and that group will go great, right? Like we feel like you have the competency and confidence that you could go out and do this. Now, again, I want to be careful with how we say this in the way of like green, yellow, red, in the same way that we take our APEST and we say you're not pigeonholed in one particular color, right? Or one particular gifting. No, APEST should be full and lively in your life. There's places that you're strong. Now, on the green, yellow, red, that doesn't mean that you come out and you go, haha, take all that, suckers. I'm a green and you're a yellow, you're a loser, blah. No, like the green is just saying it's an affirmation of probably what we're already seeing, right? That you're ready to go. And so giving them the step to do that and jump out and lead out.
I have a question.
Yes.
So are we still recommending that they're leading with someone who has already led before? Because that kind of sounds like what now yellow is. Or are we just recommending everybody if it's their first time leading, to lead with someone who has led.
Yeah, I mean, ideally, I think we continue to keep that language of, yes, if you could lead with somebody that has led before, that's awesome. I would also say that green would be, we think you are okay to go and do that. Like, the language,
so then,
you know the tools. Yeah.
But okay, so then yellow is basically the same thing. You're still leading with someone who has led, but someone who is. Are you going to have specific yellow leaders, or like how do you?
Yeah. So the yellow language is grow and make disciples, right? So green is like you're clear to go and lead a group. You need to take somebody along with you to co-lead. Obviously, I mean, we want everybody to have a co-leader. But yellow is, hey, we want you to partner up with a seasoned discipling leader. So
what does seasoned mean?
What's that?
In this context, what does seasoned mean?
Yeah, so a seasoned discipling leader for me is that they have led at least one group before. And so they've gone through the process.
Dude, I do not, that would be, I would be considered that, and I do not feel seasoned at all. I feel like you need to up the number for that.
Okay, well, maybe we up the number. Yeah, I'm okay with that. Maybe we up the number to 2.
I think at least 2. Because I feel like I'm just now kind of getting into a flow.
Right.
So, I don't know. Something to think about.
Yeah, we'll have to do some research on how many folks we have that have led to. That may not be a very big pool. So, that could be part of it. Yeah, that's a good thought, though. I like it.
I mean, if you're trying, because like I said, I'm still learning myself, I think, how to be a leader.
Yeah.
So I would never consider myself seasoned. I am thinking seasoned as in the people who have lots of reps.
But you also don't give yourself a lot of credit because you only missed one on that quiz and you know your stuff. And you're leading a group.
But I also do the podcast.
So, that's true.
Podcast. I have to know that.
But there's places that you are leading in an awesome, awesome way. Just saying.
I am just saying, I think 2 minimum is probably good. Because I think your first one, you're still figuring. Yeah. But, that's just my opinion.
I'll have to do some digging. See how many we got. If it's 5 people, that may not work. The other option on the yellow is this, that you lead with a seasoned leader, but also perhaps partner up with one of your current leaders. So that's Summer's situation. She has somebody in her group that she called and said, hey, I've got this person that I don't know that we would actually deploy. But at the same time, I know that if she comes alongside me and co-leads with me, she will do great. Mm-hmm. And so that was kind of where the yellow mindset is coming from, is you as a leader recognize, hey, this particular person is going to do awesome, but I want to walk with them for a season, or I want to co-lead with them. And ideally, that's going to be the one that's going to work the best, right? Is so you have your 2 leaders, you have somebody in your group that's a green and you send them out and they go do their thing, but then you have that one person that you take alongside you and they walk through it then with you. I think that's the win there in the yellow column. And then the third one is the red. Now, again, I made the comment last night that the red light is a place you temporarily stop, hopefully, unless the light's broken, right? It turns to a green and you get to go eventually. And so the idea or the language around the red is not deployed yet. So that yet being a key piece, right? And so in that, we want to give each person a growth plan. And so there's going to be a growth plan available that's, in a sense, going to be written by the group leader, okay? They're going to write out that growth plan for each person that gets either a yellow or a red. And so just to clarify where that's going to be, I didn't say a lot of this last night because I feel like it's just kind of in the weeds. But for those that are listening, on the website, under the deployment page, there's going to be a new button that says deployment growth plans. And then you're going to be able to click on that and be able to print out a sheet where you can write out a growth plan for each person. And then that's going to be a new part of our deployment parties, is there's going to be a conversation of, okay, where are our colors and what are our next steps? What are our growth plans for each person? And like you said, I think the majority of people are going to fall in that yellow of hey, here's the next steps you can take and the places that we want to see you grow. And then for the reds, it's hey, you may not quite be ready to lead yet, but we want to continue to walk with you. And so it used to be this kind of same concept of like, we're not going to deploy you, but we want you to come back in the group and we want to continue to walk with you. So that's the red light. And then there's the obvious folks who are not even on the traffic light and they've stepped out of the group for whatever reason, right? And then they're obviously not going to get deployed. So I don't know what we call that. But yeah, dark red, maybe. I don't know.
Couple things.
Yes.
So for the yellow, like with NAM, when they give a yellow, they give like a kind of like a timeline. Yep. So like you're not in yellow for like a whole nother year.
Exactly.
Like if you just have a few specific things that you need to work on, and like if you like get it done, you know, like you could be deployed quickly, right?
Right.
Is this still the same thinking?
Yeah.
So it would be definitely more personalized because I mean you could learn that and you could master it quickly, or like, you know, take a little bit more time.
Yeah. And the yellow, you're still, just to clarify, the yellow, you're still going to be deployed. We just have a place we want you to go. Right. So that would be, hey, you're deployed, but we recommend that you sit again with that seasoned leader or your discipling leader as you lead your next group.
Okay, I think that's the disconnect with me because, like,
gotcha.
The other for NAM, that's not like green means.
Yeah. So yellow means you're going to plant a church in the next 12 to 18 months.
6 months?
I think so. It's you're assessed, but with recommendations, and so that's kind of what we're doing. We're saying, hey, you can go and do this, but we want to give you some recommendations, like give you a growth plan, steps to take.
For the growth plan,
yes,
I think it would be helpful because, like, I can probably spot someone who needs a growth plan, like in my group, but I don't know if I would be able to know what they would need to grow. So, like, when you add it to the website, like, can you give ideas for them to help them grow? Like, what do they need to do to be able to master this? Or like,
totally,
I don't know.
Yeah. And
I would be clueless.
And I think for some people, I think it starts with just simply the reps, like more time, right? And so leadership competency, leadership confidence, just to use those words we've already kind of used in this particular podcast, is like just giving them an opportunity to lead out. And so again, with that seasoned leader, that person can ultimately lead the group, but then they have the opportunity to co-lead that group. And then there's the point where that leader that is the seasoned one gives the opportunity for that other person to lead, like a tool or a teach or starts to get them in the mix of like actually leading.
So then what would the growth plan look like if they're basically just, teaching a tool here and there and like leading out, like?
Yeah. So I mean, the growth plan could be as easy as you start to lead a group. And I know that's very general, right? But like, hey, we think if you jump into this with somebody that kind of knows what they're doing, like like you said, kind of shadowing them and then seeing what they're doing, I think you could pick this up quickly and begin to do it, right?
So like for me, I'm just looking at myself, like my growth could have been like, it's because I can check out when people are talking and like, I'm trying to think of what my response is,
Yeah.
that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so I miss a lot of what they're saying, or like I can't get to the point of it. Some people are just naturally gifted at seeing like, oh, well, this is the root of the issue.
Yeah.
I think that would be helpful to kind of get reps in, like just even after your group, just maybe asking that person that you are yellowing.
Yeah.
Like, hey, like when they were saying this, what did you pick up on?
Mm-hmm.
And then you guys can discuss like, well, here's what I saw, and this is what they said to lead me to this conclusion.
Yeah.
I think some of that back end teaching would be really great too.
Yeah. And the other thing that I heard you say is that it needs to have a timeline, right? Like there needs to be some specifics of like next steps and how long that's going to take. But I think what does happen is it helps to take away the awkward conversation, right? It helps to take away the well, hey, we're not going to deploy you. Oh, why? And the other thing I want to say is this is like in the yellow and the red. I think if we don't give them a growth plan, then what good is that, right? If we just say, hey, you're not ready, and then that was it, right?
Right.
Like, no, they need a plan. They need next steps, especially on the red. Like, hey, what can get you to the yellow, green, and be ready to go? And again, to clarify, like the colors don't define you, right? Like you're not always going to be stuck as a green. I mean, even for me as a church planner, I was a yellow when I came out of assessment, but I didn't hold that. I mean, I was first like frustrated about it because I'm like, oh, I'm ready to go do this. But in reality, when I look back on that and that season of growth that they gave me and some of the tips that they gave me out of that, like I grew as a leader because those people wanted to invest in my life. And so again, I think this pushes your growth beyond just the group. And it's like, hey, in these next 6 months, if you can grow in this area, that's going to be amazing. You know, we'd love to see that, different things like that. So
I think it's good, especially for the red, like you were saying, because I feel like when people get reds, or even when you have that conversation and you try to make it as positive as you can, and you say, hey, but I still want to walk with you, I think immediately they get defeated. They want to give up. They think there's no point.
Right.
So I think this is great. Like, hey, like you're not deployed, but like we still want to walk with you, and here are specific ways of what we want to do with you. I can imagine, just because that's how I would be if I got a red. Like I'd just immediately be deflated and never want to do it again.
So when we talk about a red light, right? Like that's a temporary stop. It's more of a yield. It's going to change. It's going to change colors. Like don't be defeated and stuck in that red for the rest of your days. Like
that's a good way to look at it and to explain for sure.
Yeah. So next steps as far as getting more information out to discipling leaders and different things like that. Hoping to create a YouTube video that'll be on our D3 YouTube page that kind of gives clarity and shows a little bit more of what the growth sheet is going to look like, growth plan sheet, different things like that. In addition, you'll find it popping up on the website in the next little bit. I don't know what that timeline is going to be, but it's going to be soon. And in that, once it is up, all of our discipling leaders will probably get an email that is bringing clarity once more and all of that. But I think this podcast is a great start for folks to kind of know, hey, this is where we're headed and what we're looking about. So the next question might be this, Katie. At what point do we start talking about the traffic lights with the people in our group? And so I think there's really 2 points that we're going to start to talk about it. The first would be, I like how I put that in the camera, like people could see it. Anyway, you can see it. So I think the first point that we would want to talk about it is when we're going through the covenant and having those first conversations. So as I'm walking through the covenant, I'm telling people, hey, this is the expectation for you as you're walking through discipleship. And when we get to the end, these are going to be the expectations that you have hopefully seen transformation in these areas of your life. And so then we would add on to that in that covenant conversation at the very beginning, right? So it shouldn't be new news for them in phase 4. But, hey, as we deploy you, we're going to give you perhaps a growth plan of what next steps could be for you, and it's going to be green, yellow, or red. And then from there, once we start moving into phase 4, that's when we start having the conversation. Like nobody should be in phase 2 going, what color am I right now? Like, how do I get to the next color? Like, that's not a conversation we want to have. But what we want to do is, again, when we get to the end, hey, this is what we've seen over these past several months, and this is now your next step. And again, giving them that growth plan.
So this is not something that I will be doing with my current group.
No, it'll be now a conversation as you can hold it out. Like I would say maybe if you don't want to do it with this group because it's new language, then that's okay. Or if once you get into kind of phase 4 conversations, people of peace conversations, you could start to kind of introduce that.
So I can, because we're still in phase 2.
Oh, yeah, you got all kinds of time then. Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah.
All right.
And again, as that's rolling out, right, if there's a group that's deploying in the next couple of weeks, we're probably not going to ask them to use that. But on their next group, they would use that. But like, yeah, I think you guys probably got time. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Cool. Got any other questions?
Maybe not right now. I think I covered everything I took note on.
Sweet.
Other than you got called out by Sherry, you could not remember her name. No one be known, Ray. No one be known.
I know, for the second time. So I did. She did give me a clue, a tip, or she said she gave me her nickname, which will help me, Share Bear. So I'll remember that, and then I'll just call her that because I'll be like, what does Share Bear stand for? But
if you remember Share Bear.
She did admit yesterday that we do not run in the same circles, and I very rarely see her. So she is aware.
I was flabbergasted. I was like, oh, what?
My goodness. Yeah. Well, my wife luckily was one of the ones that was like, Sherry.
I was too. I was like, I'm close.
Yeah. She said she's going to do it every time. So I'm ready now. I'm going to put it in my notes next time.
All right. You better.
Sherry. So, yeah, I did get called out. So, yeah. Well, if you are listening and you have questions, please send those questions to I messed it up. d3info@newcitychurch.com. And we would be happy to answer it. Maybe even if it's a great question, we will put it on a podcast and we will answer it there for all the world to hear and see. Also, if you need resources, I would say definitely reach out to your D3 campus leaders. We have brand new books. We also have brand new shirts if you were not at our thing last night. So if you want one of those, holler at me and we can get you one of those. Yeah, they're pretty fun. Had a good response to them. People were like, these are fun,
Awesome.
So, kind of cool. 2 different styles too. So jump on board that or with that. What else am I missing? Is that it?
I think so.
I think that's it. Yep.
I can't think.
So with that, until next time, we'll see you on the D3 Discipleship Podcast.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us today. We hope that today's information was helpful and useful for your discipling journey. We would like to encourage you to subscribe, review, and share on social media. If you would like more information, check out d3pathway.com.